Did you know that the biggest bank robbery in all of history was carried out by a direct order from the president of the country himself, not by an ordinary gang? In this video, we're going to dive together into a terrifying and chilling iceberg. An iceberg about the smartest, strangest, and boldest bank heists, from the robberies we all know and have seen on TV, to the deepest secrets that no one has ever heard of or seen before. But get yourself ready, because the deeper we go, the crazier and more unbelievable the stories will get. You won't believe them. And the things we'll discover in the dark depths of this iceberg might make you question everything you know about the world and people. Buckle up, because the journey down starts now. We all know that robbing banks is a serious crime, and that it's a criminal act punishable by prison. And most thieves end up in jail. This is the superficial truth that everyone knows, the one you see in American movies and hear about in the news. You imagine that all robberies are the same, just ordinary criminals carrying weapons and taking the money. But the truth goes much deeper than that, believe me. This level is just the beginning. Get ready for the weirdness, because the truth is always much stranger than fiction. The Great Train Robbery happened in 1963 in Britain. Almost everyone has heard about this story and saw that a gang of 15 people decided to do something no one had ever done before in all of Britain's history. They stopped a Royal Mail train between Glasgow and London in a remote, dark place right in the middle of the night, and without anyone seeing, they stole more than £2.5 million sterling. At that time, that amount was an astronomical fortune. The British press called it the heist of the century because of how big it was. The story was turned into a famous movie watched by millions. But what's strange is what happened after the robbery itself. Here, the mastermind was named Bruce Reynolds, a smart man who was a former visual artist and obsessed with meticulous planning. The British police launched the biggest manhunt in their history. They decided to catch most of the gang members and sentence them to years in prison. But the most famous of them was named Ronnie Biggs, who escaped from prison in a spectacular cinematic way that shocked everyone. He lived between Brazil and Australia for 30 years while on the run. He used to send photos to the British police of himself laughing until he finally turned himself in 2001. And because of his illness, he returned. This story shows us that some thieves are smart and creative. Not just ordinary criminals, but artists and planners. But that's nothing compared to the stories coming up. Let's dive deeper into the third level of the iceberg. The Knightsbridge safe deposit robbery in London happened in 1987. This story is less famous than the airport heist, but its details are much stranger and crazier. It's a wild story. A stylish Italian man walked confidently into a bank branch in London. He calmly asked the employee to rent a safety deposit box. He looked like an important and very wealthy businessman, so no one suspected him. The employee welcomed him with a smile and took him to the vault room. The fortified room located underground is a secure place. And here, the calm scene turned into a Hollywood action movie. The well-dressed man pulled a gun from his pocket and took control of the employee. He opened the back door for his companion, who was waiting outside. They hung a sign on the door that said, "Bank closed." And they started the legendary heist party with complete calm. They opened the safety deposit boxes one after another and stole them. They stole cash, valuable jewelry, and gold bars. The value of the stolen goods was estimated at £60 million sterling, which was about 97 million US dollars at the time. A fortune. One of the thieves was named Filippo Vici, a legendary Italian criminal. The son of a well-known lawyer, he was wanted in Italy for more than 50 robberies. He fled from England to start a new life far from his past. But he couldn't resist the thief's demon inside him, which was his addiction. After the heist, he escaped to Latin America to disappear. But he made the mistake of his life when he decided to return to London. The British police had set up an ambush for him at the airport, caught him, and sentenced him to 22 years in prison without any mercy. This story shows us that some thieves are addicted to crime, which runs in their blood just like any addiction. But are all thieves like that? Let's find this out together. Let's dive deeper into the fourth level of the iceberg. The Securitas Depot robbery was the biggest cash heist. This story isn't just an ordinary theft. This is a horror story. The gang never attacked a bank or a depot directly. Instead, they planned something even more devilish and cunning. Something no one would expect. They watched the depot manager, Colin Dixon, for weeks, learning all his movements, every detail of his life and his schedule. And on one of those cold nights, they carried out their terrifying plan. One of them stopped him with a fake police car and kidnapped Colin. At the exact same time, another team kidnapped his wife and son, taking them to a remote abandoned farm. They tied them up, threatened them, filmed a video of the kidnapped family, and threatened Colin with killing them. Colin broke down psychologically and agreed to do whatever they asked. They took him to the warehouse and he opened all the secured doors for them. they stole more than 350 million pounds sterling. That's about 83 million US dollars. And they escaped without leaving a single trace behind, as if they were ghosts. The British police launched a massive investigation and started looking into the case. One of the gang members tried to launder the stolen money, and one of their friends went and told the police about them. Strangely, one of the main people involved was named Maury. He was the mastermind behind the whole operation. He fled to Morocco to disappear, but Interpol caught him. This story shows us that crime can be violent and can affect innocent people. They had done nothing wrong. But are there heists that are bolder and smarter than this? Definitely. Let's dive deeper to the fifth level of the iceberg. The British Bank of the Middle East heist that happened in Beirut. At that time, Lebanon was sinking into civil war, and chaos was everywhere without exception. A mysterious armed group decided to take advantage of this chaos. The British Bank of the Middle East was one of the largest banks. Its vault was filled with the treasures of the wealthy from all over the world. The armed group set their sights on this bank, but they never attacked from the front door. They came up with a devilish plan. They discovered that there was an abandoned Catholic church right next to it, and the wall between them was shared, a golden opportunity that would never come again. They decided to blow up the shared wall and break into the bank. They used powerful explosives, made a huge hole in the wall, and entered one of the most secure and fortified places. They brought with them blacksmiths and professional locksmiths to open the vaults, and they stole gold bars, precious jewelry, stocks, and documents. The value of the stolen goods was estimated at $50 million at the time, but today their value would exceed $200 million. And to this day, no one knows who was behind this robbery. Some accuse the Palestine Liberation Organization of carrying it out. Others say it was armed Lebanese factions. But what's certain is that it was one of the biggest heists of the 20th century. This story shows us how chaos and war become a paradise for criminals who exploit conflict and destruction. But there are thefts that are even more organized and clever than this. I'm talking about the tunnel that was dug under the bank in Brazil. Let's dive deeper to the sixth level of the iceberg. The Banco Central bank robbery in Brazil happened in 2005, and it was a story straight out of a science fiction movie. Completely unbelievable. A group of professional thieves decided to rob the central bank, but they had no intention of using weapons or violence. Their plan was much smarter than any weapon. They rented an old house near the bank in a small village and stayed there for 3 months, pretending to be a company that sold artificial grass. That was just the cover for what was really going on. They dug an 80-meter tunnel from the house to the vault. The tunnel was an engineering marvel in every sense of the word, equipped with electric lighting, ventilation, and even air conditioning. They worked on it quietly underground for many weeks without anyone knowing. They were digging right under the feet of the police and the people. No one could have imagined what was happening beneath their feet. And on the weekend, they carried out their big heist. They entered the main vault, stole $70 million, and escaped just as quietly as they had arrived. The Brazilian police described it as the smartest heist. But the story after the robbery was even more terrifying than the robbery itself. A strange curse began to follow the gang members one after another. Many of them were kidnapped, tortured, and killed. Other gangs, greedy for the stolen money, wanted to take it. One of the gang members was kidnapped and a huge ransom was demanded. But even after his family paid the full ransom, they killed him. This story shows us that stolen money can bring death and destruction to its owner instead of happiness. But does crime never lead to a happy ending? Because there was an artist thief who turned theft into an art form, let's dive deeper to the seventh level of the iceberg. The heist of the century in Argentina happened in 2006, an artistic crime in every sense of the word. A crazy visual artist named Fernando Araujo was behind it. He was smoking hash and making plans one day, and with a crazy idea he said, why not make the heist itself a work of art? The idea completely took over him, and he started planning obsessively. He gathered a team of completely ordinary people. There was a mechanic, a shop owner, and even a psychiatrist. They broke into the Rio Bank in the capital, Buenos Aires, armed, and took 23 hostages inside the bank. But they never hurt any of them. On the contrary, they were singing, playing guitar, telling stories, celebrating the hostages' birthdays, and comforting them while throwing a party inside the bank. Meanwhile, there was another team silently digging a tunnel under the bank from the nearby sewage system to the safety deposit boxes. They stole everything inside the boxes and escaped through the tunnel in small inflatable boats. They left a message on the wall written in the handwriting of the rich. The police stormed the bank only hours later and found the hostages, but the thieves had vanished as if they were ghosts in the air. However, they were caught shortly after. And the reason? One of their wives reported him to the police because he cheated on her, but in court they received lighter sentences because they didn't kill anyone. This story shows us that some thieves are artists and creative. But are there bigger, more mysterious, and more bankrupting heists? Of course there are. There's the poet thief who left a love letter on the wall. Let's dive deeper to the 8th and final level. The Abyss, the robbery of Société Générale Bank in the French city of Nice. A story of love, philosophy, and crime all mixed together. The mastermind was just an ordinary photographer. He was a very ordinary man with a small photography studio. But inside him, there was a devil boiling with power, dreaming of a legendary heist that would immortalize his name in history. He assembled a team of professionals and former criminals who dug a long tunnel from the nearby sewage system. They spent 2 whole days inside the bank, completely calm and at ease. They opened the safety deposit boxes one after another and stole from them. They stole cash and valuable jewelry worth millions of dollars. But the craziest and strangest thing about this story, on the wall of the looted vault, they wrote a message in handwriting. No weapons, no violence, and no hatred. A message of love. A message of love and peace to the world from the heart of the biggest heist in history. Spaggiari was arrested after a while and confessed to everything, but in court he did something no one could ever expect. He jumped out of the courtroom window onto a car parked below, escaped on a motorcycle that was waiting for him, and disappeared. He spent the rest of his life on the run, disguised in different countries. He underwent plastic surgery to completely change his appearance. He died many years later of cancer on his birthday. His body was found in front of his mother's house in France, and no one could explain how it got there. It's as if his soul returned to the place where he was born, to die peacefully in the arms of his beloved homeland. This story shows us that some thieves are philosophers who use crime to express their beliefs and emotions. But is this the strangest theft in history? Maybe not. In Germany, there were thieves who robbed a bank using an electric drill. They drilled through hundreds of safety deposit boxes and stole everything. And in Japan, a single thief stole 800 million Japanese yen, and to this day, no one knows who this mysterious thief is. It's as if he vanished into thin air without a trace. An armored cash transport vehicle belonging to Toshiba was parked at the entrance. He was wearing a police uniform and riding a motorcycle. He convinced the driver and the guards that there was a bomb planted. The driver and guards quickly got out, fearing for their lives, and the thief got into the vehicle and escaped with all the money inside. To this day, no one knows who this thief was, where he went, or what he did with the money he stole. It's a mystery that was never solved. The case was closed due to the statute of limitations in 1988. So even if they found him, they couldn't prosecute him legally. He escaped forever without leaving a trace. This story shows us that a perfect crime is possible, and that there are thieves who escape forever without ever being caught. Let's go back to the theft of the Central Bank of Iraq, because this particular story has a lot of details that have no explanation, details that make you stop and really think about everything. Just one day before the start of the American invasion of Iraq, a convoy of large military trucks arrived at the bank. With the convoy was Qusay Saddam Hussein himself, the president's son, carrying a handwritten note from his father, the president. A clear and explicit order: withdraw every dollar in the bank's vault. The amount was about $1 billion in cash. The money was loaded onto the military trucks and disappeared. The official story says that Saddam Hussein was afraid the Americans would seize Iraq's money, so he decided to withdraw it and hide it in safe places inside Iraq. But there is another story that is completely different. A more widespread account says that this was the largest money laundering operation carried out under the cover of war and chaos without any oversight, and that the money never even left Baghdad in the first place. Instead, it was distributed among a network of corrupt officials, and part of it was smuggled to other countries under fake names. And the proof is that just a few years after this incident, there was a second theft at the same bank and in almost the same way. Billions of dollars were stolen from Iraq's oil revenues, which confirms that the corrupt network still exists and never disappeared with the old regime. It's still operating in the shadows. This story shows us that the biggest thieves can actually be the very same people who rule the country and steal from it. And that crime can be political, international, and even official. The Dar es Salaam bank robbery in Baghdad happened in 2007. This was the second major theft in Iraq after the fall. The stolen amount was about $282 million. The strange thing is that the ones who carried it out were the bank's own guards. The bank guards, who were supposed to protect it, were the very ones who stole it, and it's suspected they were connected to the local police and militias. To this day, the case remains a mystery. No one knows where the money went or who ultimately benefited from it. It's an unsolved puzzle. This story shows us that the god could be the very person who steals the bank he's supposed to protect. Let's dig deeper and I'll tell you about the Antwerp Diamond Heist. The Antwerp bank robbery in Belgium happened in 2003. It was the great Diamond Heist that shocked the entire world. A gang of professional Italian thieves planned and stole diamonds and precious jewelry worth $100 million from a bank vault that was considered the most secure in the world. It had 14 different and complex layers of security, but the professional thieves managed to get past these. They broke into the fortified vault and stole everything inside it. Some of them were arrested after many years of investigation, but most of the stolen diamonds were never recovered. This story shows us that nothing is truly safe in this world. No matter how strong the security is, someone can always break through it, and there are still hundreds of thefts happening every day, like the Northern Bank robbery in Ireland. The Northern Bank robbery happened in 2004 in Ireland. A gang linked to the Irish Republican Army kidnapped the families of senior bank employees and forced the staff to open the vault and hand over everything inside. They stole about £26 million sterling. It was the biggest cash robbery in the entire history of Ireland. But what's strange is that most of the stolen money was never found, and the gang managed to escape without being caught and disappeared. This story shows us that organized crime can be connected to politics, resistance, and the struggle against occupation, and that the line between wrongdoing and criminality is very thin. Let's dive to the deepest level and talk about the last robbery in our story. A bank robbery in Paris happened in 2010. Professional thieves entered the bank through the sewage system, just like a gang did exactly 40 years before them. They stole safety deposit boxes worth 20 million euros and escaped the same way they came in, from below. This story shows us that old methods still exist and that history repeats itself, and thieves learn from each other. A similar method was also used in the Banco Bank robbery in Brazil in 2011. Professional thieves dug a long tunnel from an abandoned house, entered the main vault and stole 60 million. But what's strange is that the tunnel was fully equipped with everything, like electric lighting, ventilation, and even a small railway to transport the soil and stolen goods easily and quickly. This story shows us that creativity in crime knows no bounds, and thieves are always creative and keep developing their methods. And even nowadays, thieves have started using the internet and their work has become electronic fraud. Like the theft of the Bank of Bangladesh in India in 2004, it wasn't a traditional robbery at all, but rather electronic fraud. A corrupt bank employee used a transfer system to move billions of dollars into fake accounts under different names. The value of the fraud was estimated at $1 billion. It was the biggest banking fraud in the entire history of India. This story shows us that crime has evolved over time, from weapons and tunnels to computers, the internet, and programming. And that the new thieves don't even need to leave their homes to steal millions of dollars. They carry out their plans from behind their screens. This was our journey through the dark side of Mount Greed. From the sky to identity. From the known to the unknown. From the ordinary stories everyone knows to the mysterious ones. We discovered stories we never imagined existed in this world, and we realized that the world of crime is deeper and stranger than we ever thought. We found out that there are thieves who dig tunnels underground, tunnels equipped with air conditioning, lighting, and ventilation, and that the biggest theft in history happened a day before the war. The timing was no coincidence at all. It was carefully planned. And more importantly, someone even left a love note on the wall. A message of love and peace after stealing millions from the safe. Which story shocked you the most in this iceberg? I want you to write your opinion in the comments below the video. And if you're ready for a deeper and stranger journey in the upcoming videos, then make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell because there are still many secrets that have never been revealed.